Let's write a few CSS rules together using Komodo Edit. You can download the page I'll be using on Moodle under the Week 3 tab. As I mentioned in the video, CSS is a little tricky at first, but it's incredibly useful and not too bad after a little practice. Today we're going to stick to very basic rules, so you'll get the hang of the syntax and the basic idea of what these CSS rules are doing. In lessons 6, 7, and 8, we'll talk about all sorts of other things CSS can do. We're going to create CSS rules in what's called an embedded style sheet. It'll be embedded in the head tag of the page. This style tag, with the text CSS attribute, signals the computer that everything in between will be in the CSS syntax. In the next lesson, we'll talk about other places to write CSS, but don't worry about that yet. So let's create 4 simple rules. First, let's create a rule that'll change the font for the entire page. The way CSS works is that the child tags inherit the CSS of their parent tags. So what tag is the parent to everything that appears in the browser window? That's right, the body tag. So how can we write a selector for the body tag? Exactly. We drop the brackets and type body. Next comes the opening curly bracket. Here's where you can find it on my keyboard. And after that, the property, which is font family. Add a colon, and then let's use Arial as the font, a sans serif. Close the curly bracket, and let's preview it. The font isn't quite as nice as that bus, but you just successfully wrote your first CSS rule. So let's now change the text color for the class we've already written here in the code called blue text. How would you write that CSS rule? Good. You write a class selector by putting a period in front of the class. So period blue text. Curly bracket. The property here is color, a colon. The property value is blue, a semicolon, and close the curly bracket. Now let's write our third rule, where we're going to change the background color of the div with an ID of sidebar. How would you write a selector for an ID? Exactly, with a hashtag in front. So hashtag sidebar, curly bracket. The property here is called background dash color, a colon, and then the property value. In web design, you can write the primary colors out as words, but more commonly designers use hexadecimal color codes. It's a little bit confusing because those hexadecimal colors use a hashtag before the 6-digit value 2. You can use colorpicker.com to find a color that you like. So go ahead and find that color, type it in as the property value, add your semicolon, close the bracket, and check it out. Finally, let's write a compound selector so the paragraph tag in the section with an ID of main content is red. How can you write that compound selector? Good. There's 2 correct answers to this question. You could write section space P, or you could write hashtag main content space P. Both are compound selectors that will let you choose that specific paragraph tag. Why you might choose one or the other is something you'll understand after lesson 6. CSS will get more complicated, but the basic principles will always remain. You're telling the browser how you want something to appear on screen.